What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review and an unboxing of MVD Rewind Collection's 4K release of Ghoulies. Let's check it out. So yeah, MVD sent this out to me. Thank you very much to do a review of and kind of tell you guys all the details about what's inside, what new features you might be able to have, and what I thought about the actual 4K release. This is their second release. They did the Swamp Thing one before. This is their new 4K for the Ghoulies movie, so we'll get into that later. We'll talk about all the ingredients at the end of my review, but first I'm going to talk about what I thought about this movie. Oh, and to give you an idea, I do have the Scream Factory double feature for Ghoulies, so I'll be kind of comparing and referencing this at the end as well. So let's get into it. So first up, Ghoulies is one of those movies that when you were a kid in the 80s, this was awesome because we were spoiled with movies like Gremlins and little creatures and little things like that. Definitely became the repertoire for Full Moon Productions because technically Ghoulies is the movie that saved Empire Pictures at first, which was like an arm of their releases that they did outside of the US, and they went on to do Full Moon, and this movie in particular basically made Charles Band. We would have seen all those other Puppet Master movies or like Demonic Toys or anything like that, or any of the Full Moon features if it wasn't for this movie. So this has got some history to it, and I will say that this isn't my favorite in the franchise, but it is not a bad watch, and it is definitely a fun time to have because there are some really bad dialogue choices, funny things that just happen in this movie. Plus, you know, there's just weird, evil, satanic creatures and all kinds of crazy shit that's in this movie. So if you're new here and you've never heard of Ghoulies, well, step the fuck up because it's time to listen. Ghoulies came out in 1983 and was executive produced by Charles Band, and it was actually film star Luca Bercovici's first feature film and first writing credit as well. He actually went on to do quite a few other movies like Rockula and The Granny, which I would love to review here soon and definitely deserves another release. So I hope whoever's out there is actually looking into it. MVD? Now, this was also co-written by Luca Bercovici with Jeff Levy, who also did some other stuff, including Rockula that he wrote with, and he actually went on to direct the So Fucking What movie, SFW. So what is this crazy, weird, ghouly-sounding name story all about? Well, it's actually a story about a kid whose father was a satanic priest and was actually to be sacrificed by his own father, only to inherit his house later on after his death, and then somehow stumble over the demonic satanic rites and bring about not only his father again, but also these little creatures known as the Ghoulies. It's a pretty bad shit crazy film and probably leans more on the satanic stuff more than it does actually the Ghoulies. I've always felt like the sequel to Ghoulies is probably the more, ghouly movie. So, they go on to get changed into many different films. The franchise is all over the fucking place. The first one's different from the second one. The second one's different from the third and fourth. It is just bananas. And we also get to see a performance from Jack Nance, who was always David Lynch's favorite. The guy that was in that crazy movie that David Lynch did. All of them. Eraserhead, Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, probably my favorite performance, but he's in here. He also does some of the narration in this film. Now, what happens in this movie is that basically this kid summons all these demons when he goes back to this house. He doesn't know anything about his past, but this is where it's led him. He decides that instead of playing a game of Monopoly or strip poker, that he's going to do some sort of ritual. Because, that's what you do at parties.
Let's do a ritual.
And my God, the party is pretty fun in this movie. There's some music going on. Some of the best bits of fucked up dialogue are in the very intro of this movie that just blow your mind as to who was writing this. But
I need to dismiss the spirit. So do I. Where
Where's the bathroom?
It's just one of those things that you just kind of get a taste for when it's in a so bad it's good kind of film. And in some ways, Ghoulies is a so bad it's good film, but it is also endearing to a lot of people who grew up watching these kind of films that came straight to video, that didn't really get theatrical releases. This was like the beginning of it all for a lot of us. Now, I will say, like I said, you know, this is not as ghoulie centric, but the creatures in here are definitely pretty gnarly looking, and they were the start of what they would look like later on in different variations, which, if you don't know, John Carl Buechler was the one that actually did the creature effects for this and did some of the puppetry in this movie. There was a ton of people that worked on this movie, including Ted Nicolau, who did the editing for this film, and he is the guy who, of course, went on to do Terrorvision, one of my favorite movies.
This dude's into metal!
But there's a ton of people in the background that worked on this film, that produced it or made it happen. And from what it seems, it was a really fun set to work on. So there's a lot of really silly, wacky kills in here. There's a lot of like weird ritualistic things. There's a lot of dolls coming to life and, you know, lasers coming out of people's eyes and a lot of 80s. It's very heavy 80s stuff. I mean, everybody's wearing glasses in the film, which I thought when I first saw the movie when I was a kid, you know, I was just like, oh, these guys are cool, you know, they're doing the, you know, this is the cool style right now, which, yes, some of the characters definitely have that 80s look, but the reason they were wearing the glasses is because this was supposed to be a 3D movie, and whenever they put on their glasses, you were supposed to actually put on your 3D glasses for that experience. Now, you'd think such a weird, zany, kind of so bad it's good film that has weird stuff like this from the 80s wouldn't do that well, but you'd be wrong, because this movie went on to make about $35 million at the box office, supposedly. So this isn't your little film, but it definitely is kind of so bad it's good. Like I said, this built the empire for Empire Pictures and turned into Full Moon Entertainment. But yeah, who doesn't love seeing a little puppet with weird shifty eyes looking around, killing people in the most ridiculous ways? Some of the kills aren't all ghoulies, by the way. They're just subsequent deaths of, like, you know, this satanic guy. Now, there isn't a ton of gore in this movie, but it does have its moments, and it does do a few things with the gore or blood and a lot of the creature effects. If you're a gore fan, this isn't going to be the biggest one, but you know, it's also kind of just Ghoulies, so you get it for the Ghoulies and you get it for the weirdness that this movie provides, right? But there is a lot of surprises in this film. It isn't my favorite of the first two, but I will say that it does actually look really good on this 4K release, and it was a much better watch this time than the watch I had last time. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of those movies that if you would have told me when 4K first came out that this was gonna get a 4K release, yeah, no, I didn't think this was gonna get a 4K release, but here we are. Ghoulies is on 4K thanks to MVD Entertainment Group with their Rewind collection, their second one. I don't think they were able to get the rights to do 4K for the sequel. I don't really know all the details on that, but they do have a Blu-ray that is out, and I will be reviewing that after this video, so buckle the fuck up. But yeah, if I had to give this one a score, I would definitely say a 6.5 on the S-Big scale. It is definitely an entertaining film to watch. It is 80s through and through, so if you love 80s, I mean, you kind of have to watch this movie. It's not my favorite, like I said, of the two, but I still think that it deserves a lot of credit for doing a lot of really weird and zany things. If this was the only movie we got out of Ghoulies, it's not a bad watch, and it did really good. So, you know, I think you should definitely check it out. You know, this is one of those ones that I think that if you grew up watching it, you're going to be nostalgic for. If you're younger, maybe you should check it out if you are into practical effects, puppetry, and things like that. There's the charm about it that you just don't get in movies these days. I think there was just a lot of creativity. We weren't as spoiled by everything, and we didn't get to see, you know, any movie we wanted to. So this comes out on September 12th, so if you want to pre-order it now, you can still pre-order it. If you're a big fan, I would definitely urge you to get it as soon as possible. Now, of course, you get this slipcover with the collector's edition. They will have the regular edition as well, I think, once that runs out, or you might be able to select it individually, but I know that this is the collector's edition with with the cover. I'll put all the links down below for you wherever you want to pick it up. But yeah, now I'm going to get into all the ingredients on here, what comes with this release, and what I think of it. So obviously we get the cover here, which is, you know, it looks like it has like a sort of a bubbly letter, like it's been out in the rain, like cover. I don't know if you can see on the cover here, but it looks like it was like a poster that was on a wall that got wet, like an old poster from the back in the day. Now it's a little different on the back here. You get some of that wrinkling and stuff on there, so it was definitely intentional. You know, here's the side. Get MGM, MVD Entertainment. They both worked on this, some licensing for that. On the inside now, the difference of the cover, you can kind of tell because they're very different. You have the wrinklier one on the outside cover and the one that's not. So it's just a little different variant there to kind of give you, you know, something different on the front than just the regular same thing. Obviously, if you look up close, they'll get you in the end, which is funny to me because this was not the movie that actually had the famous toilet scene in it. It was the sequel, but they just kind of thought of this idea at the time. There's a whole story on it you can like find out about from Charles Band in the extras on here. But yeah, you also get the poster of the cover, the sleeve, which has the wrinkled sort of cool worn out look a little bit, little mini poster on that. And then we also get the 4K and the Blu-ray, which has all the extras on it. And I'll go over some of the extras here for you now. So this scan is actually the 16-bit scan. It's a 4K restoration from 2023. It's a new scan of the original camera negative of the film. It's presented in 185:1 aspect ratio, and it of course has Dolby Vision and HDR. So don't you worry about those deep blacks that we love so much. You also get optional English subtitles. We get the 2.0 mono DTS HD audio track. We also have the archival 2015 audio commentary with director Luca Bercovici, and we also get the archival 2016 audio commentary by director Luca Bercovici, which is moderated by Jason Andresen of Terror Transmission, who sits down and has a talk with them. I didn't get to listen to those. Those are, you know, quite lengthy, but it's nice to have if you kind of really want to get the most out of your, you know, movies. So having a couple of different audio commentaries is great. And some of the features that you get on the Blu-ray are the same as you would get on the 4K, only it's not in 4K, it's in HD, even though it is the restoration down to HD, the newest one anyway. You get the optional English subtitles, same audio commentaries in DTS audio mono, plus you get a introduction by Luca Bercovici, which is in HD. We also get the featurette called Editing an Empire with Ted Nicolau, who actually kind of describes how he got to Ghoulies and like his whole history of working with other different people. And you know, it's actually a pretty interesting track. I really love Ted Nicolau. So it's definitely about 27 minutes, by the way, of him talking about Empire and how many films that he edited on there and everything. You also get The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Waste, an interview with Scott Thompson, who is the main pot guy in the film, who is constantly the kind of comedic, well, he's not the only comedic relief, but he's the main one that everybody always talks about when we talk about Ghoulies. But he talks about his history with the whole film and what it was like on set and what it was like to work with everybody and some of the things behind the scenes. That's actually a 22-minute little featurette too. We also get Just for the Chick Man, which is an interview with Luca Bercovici, who is an interesting character. You know, it kind of gives you some insight to how his working with Charles Band, working in particular with the feature film, what he thought of like working in even older films with different companies and stuff like that, you know, in comparison, and how they like even had almost a walk-off in the middle of the film, which is pretty interesting, that he'll get into as well. And that is about 33 minutes and 46 seconds, so that's a pretty lengthy one. But he's a very open, kind of interesting, tells it as it is kind of guy, so it's just how Luca is. And we get a 29, almost 30-minute documentary of From Toilets to Terror, the making of Ghoulies, which is pretty awesome and obviously tells a lot about the whole thing. It's a fun watch. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on this one. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I've seen it before and it is a really interesting documentary, so check that out. We get a photo gallery plus the theatrical trailer and 4 TV spots that are in standard definition. So it is chock full. This has got it all on here. If you are looking to, you know, piece your collection together and actually have a really good copy of Ghoulies, I can definitely vouch for the quality of this scan. It looks really good. There is no jittering. There is no, you know, like dots or anything like that from the old film restoration. It looks really good. I really enjoyed watching it this way, and I think it made it a better experience overall. But yeah, if you want to pick up a copy of this, go on anywhere down below. I'll put all the links down where you'd like to pick it up. But yeah, thank you so much, MVD Entertainment, for sending this one out. Are you guys a fan of Ghoulies? Have you picked up this copy, or is this the first time you've heard about it? Do you like puppet movies that have like weird creatures and stuff? Are you a big fan of Full Moon or even Empire? I'd love to hear about all of those stories down below, because I love talking to you guys, and you guys always fill me in on some really cool information or stories from your past. So I love hearing about it. So let me know down in the comment section down below. But other than that, thank you guys so much for supporting this channel. I'm trying to do as much as I can while also doing the podcast. So if you enjoy everything that we do here, you will also enjoy what we do on the podcast, where we review a couple of movies. We make horror themed shots based on one of the movies usually, and then we even do some different segments that we do, like Christina does like Happy Mondays. We've done a lot of different things on the podcast, and of course you don't have to listen to the whole thing because we got all the timestamps down below for you to listen to each of the episodes. But we do it every Monday. I'd highly encourage you to check that out. But thanks for supporting this channel either way, and as always, long live the boys.